All right, thanks for sticking around. I'm Rich Walsh in for Bob Pompiani tonight for the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. We got a big show for you planned today. A lot to talk about. The Steelers taking on the Dolphins tomorrow. Also, a big announcement with the Pirates as well tomorrow. And we start with our blockbuster all-star panel of guys. Andrew Fillipponi from The Fan, Josh Yohe from The Athletic, and Tim Benz from just about everywhere. Guys, we'll start with the Steelers. These next 3 games are pretty important for the Steelers. They have a chance to really get back into things. And first up is Miami Dolphins, a team that they should beat. How do you think these next 3 games will go? We'll start with you, Tim.
I think they'll be 1-2. I think they'll beat the Dolphins. I know the Steelers have a bad loss in them just about every season. Even if they're a bad team, I can see them losing to a worse team, but I do think they'll win. I think Miami keeps this closer than anybody wants to, but for as unimpressive as the Colts may have been today against the Broncos, I think that game of Adam Vinatieri is the usual Adam Vinatieri is a lot less sweatable for Colts fans. And I think the Rams might be finding themselves, even though they've just been doing it against lesser competition. So I see the Steelers going 1-2 in these 3 games, and then it's just about over at that point.
I'll give them 2-1, Tim. I think the Steelers' defense is really good. And you're right, Vinatieri didn't have a great game today. Maybe that game shouldn't have been so close. I don't think the Colts are that good, though, and I don't think they're a bad matchup for the Steelers. And let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's still a Monday night game against Miami. I can't fathom the Steelers losing this game. It might be low scoring. It might be a 10-point game maybe, but the Dolphins are historically bad. This is a horrendous football team that's pretty much trying to lose. The Steelers have had 2 weeks to prepare. They haven't lost at home on Monday Night Football since 1991 for what that's worth. I just don't see them losing this game. I don't think they can beat the Rams in a few weeks. They could go 2-0 in the next 2 weeks, though, to make things interesting.
Yeah, 4-5, I think, puts them in a playoff spot, Josh. I think as long as it's 2-1 with a win over the Colts, which, I mean, in one breath, Tim, you say that Vinatieri had a bad day. He also knocked in a 56-yard field goal before the end of the half. I mean, he made 2 50-yard field goals today indoors. So big kicks for him, even though he missed the extra point. I think the Steelers are very much in the wild card. I think they got a big lift today, Richie. The Bills are who we thought they were. They're not very good. Their quarterback stinks. He can run fine. His touchdown-interception ratio is garbage. They've been lifted up by a really mediocre schedule, which might even be a little bit complimentary. So I think by the time the Steelers come out of this homestand, I think they'll be right in it. I know they'll be ahead of the Browns, and I think they might be a game out of a wild card with a very nice schedule ahead of them.
Yeah, that nice schedule, though. Remember, just 2 games remaining at home after the 3-game homestand. So that comes into play as well. I just think that a start at 0-3 and then 1-4 is too much to overcome. The math starts to catch up with you, and I think that's where they are now.
Well, give me the wild card teams then, Tim. I mean, give me the teams off the top of your head right now.
I still think the Browns could finish in front of them.
Really?
I do.
I don't see that at all.
I mean, I don't think the Browns are good, but I don't think the Steelers are all that good.
Have you seen their coach and quarterback?
Yeah, I have. I mean,
they're terrible.
Have you seen what about the coach and the quarterback for the Steelers? I mean, we don't even know who the quarterback's going to be in a couple of weeks. Could it be Mason Rudolph the whole time? I mean, what's Mike Tomlin shown that he can do without Ben Roethlisberger?
Mason Rudolph's got a passer rating over 100.
Oh, you know how that passer rating was built up? Like this, like chest passes in basketball.
All right, well then how about Baker Mayfield's touchdown to interception ratio? How do you absolve that?
If you're telling me, I can't find an impressive wild card team. Okay. The AFC is keeping the Steelers in it, and they'll probably be kept in it even if they do go 1-2. Right. But I know this, by the end of every season, for as bad as we have seen the AFC wild card bubble be at times, you've had to be 9-7 to get in. We've seen 8-8 division winners get in, and we've seen 7-9 division winners or 7-8-1 division winners get into the NFC. But in the AFC, you got to usually have at least 9 wins.
Yeah,
I still think it's going to be tough for the Steelers to get there.
I think there's a path. I think there's a path to 9-7 for the Steelers.
Well, the Steelers' schedule is really easy. We cannot dispute that. And boy, isn't it a shame? I know this is totally in retrospect. If Ben Roethlisberger were healthy, this team would be a legit contender.
We'd have a banner ready to go right now, Josh, for the division.
It's really true. And the AFC stinks. It's amazing how much better the NFC is. Look at the NFC, the 49ers, the Packers, the Vikings. These are all legitimate Super Bowl teams.
Tim, I don't see the Browns don't have an identity to me, and I don't think the Steelers have much of one offensively, but I think what they've got is a defense that's on the up and up. I think that unit is improving. I think the Fitzpatrick trade and the Bush draft pick have put them in a position where they might end up as one of the 10 best or 5 best in football. I can't say that about Cleveland.
All right, these next 3 games are definitely winnable. Do I think that they will win all 3? No, I think they'll be 2-1. But I want to get back to Josh and his point that he can't fathom seeing a loss tomorrow night against the Dolphins. They lose to a bad team every year, Josh. Look at last year in Oakland. Is there any chance, do you think, any chance that they could lose this game?
There's always a chance, but I would be shocked. I really wouldn't. I know of the history of Mike Tomlin against bad teams. I think typically that's road games and not night games and not games coming off of a bye. And I know they've lost to bad teams, but again, the Dolphins literally might not win a game all season. They are really that awful. I know they gave Buffalo a little bit of a game last week. I don't think Buffalo's any good either, by the way. But I just don't see it happening. The season's very much on the line for the Steelers. I have to think it'll be a focus group. And again, their defense is so good. I just can't see them giving up many points at Heinz Field against an offense this putrid.
Pony, I want to get to you real quick on this question. The Dolphins have much more to play for against the Steelers than any other team because this depends on the draft pick as well in the first round.
Right. Well, I think they made a move that I think upset the front office and the ownership group because Ryan Fitzpatrick can actually win games, and we know Josh Rosen can't. And he came in and he almost won the Washington game 2 weeks ago, and they led for more than 20 minutes in Buffalo last week. So Fitzpatrick, you get a chance with him. He averages 6 wins a season as a starting quarterback. He can get hot, and he hasn't gotten hot against the Steelers in his career. He'll beat some teams. It won't be here. And Pittsburgh will find a way to jam up and lose a game that they should win, probably like Arizona, right? I mean, that's the game to me that I've got circled. They'll go out there in December, probably need the game and lose by a touchdown.
You know what? I'm dying to see what they do with Mason Rudolph. I'm really interested if they treat him like a real quarterback, at least give him a chance to be looked at as a, if not successor to Ben Roethlisberger, a longer-term backup to Ben Roethlisberger, and treat him like a real quarterback against a team who, granted, for all of its flaws in Miami, if you look at their stats overall defensively against the pass, they aren't bad, but that's largely because no one has to throw against them because they're running so late because they're up big in the second half. If you look a little closer, though, I believe their average yards per pass play is the worst or the second worst in football.
8.1 yards.
Yeah,
the worst in the league.
It's really bad. So let's see if they allow Mason Rudolph to be a real quarterback and try to push the ball downfield or at least create an intermediate passing game of some sort against a team that, since Fitzpatrick is further depleted at safety because they've had some injuries and they might be milking some injuries just to make sure guys don't get hurt for trade options before Tuesday.
Pony, do you think Rudolph will play well tomorrow?
He has to. And if he doesn't, then I think you start to open up the Duck Hodges vault again. It's a defense that might not have their number one corner. Howard's questionable. The safety's already out, and they're probably on track, as Josh put it, for 1-15 or 0-16. Here's what I don't get is that, mixed messages. We get it sometimes with Rutherford and Sullivan, and we used to get it with Roethlisberger and Haley. I think we're seeing some of that with Fichtner and Rudolph. Mason's talking about need to be aggressive. I want to take shots. Let me take shots. And Randy Fichtner's like, not so fast. And so I want to see, they should not need a gimmick offense, a Pop Warner sort of wildcat deal to win this game. Let Rudolph stretch the field against the Dolphins.
And if he can't, then you know what you don't have. And that's important. I think that's a huge part of this analysis for the rest of the season is to figure out what you do or you do not have in Mason Rudolph.
The game plan tomorrow night will tell you everything you need to know about how the Steelers coaching staff feels about Mason Rudolph because, again, if you don't take the training wheels off against the Miami Dolphins, they're not coming off. It's the way it is.
Josh, you're like the concussion expert on this panel covering hockey.
I guess.
And all the concussions. Do you think he'll be hesitant? Mason Rudolph made it a point this week to say he encourages contact. He wants to get hit. I mean, I have a feeling if I got knocked out of a game, I would be wary of where people are and scared to get hit. Do you think that he'll be affected by that early in the game?
It's conceivable. I remember when Tommy Maddox had that awful injury in 2002. He played horribly 2 or 3 weeks after coming back from the injury. It really took him a while to I think, feel comfortable again. Every situation is different. It is conceivable. I don't know Mason Rudolph. I don't cover the Steelers, but he strikes me as a kid who's pretty tough, and I think he knows how important these next couple of months are for his career Maybe he won't be the long-term quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We don't know. But he has a real chance and audition to be a quarterback for someone if it's not here. And I think he just has a confidence about him, and I believe him when he says he wants some contact. I think he'll play well. I don't think he's played poorly at all since becoming the quarterback. I just think the game plan has been so restrictive that, frankly, we don't know what he's capable of.
What are you saying, Richie, that he's going to be seeing ghosts like Sam Darnold?
Sorry.
All right. Well, we got to take a break. We're going to be talking about the Pirates and Bob Nutting and Travis Williams and what's going on tomorrow over at PNC Park. But first, football season is underway. So pick up a new #1 Cochran Chevy now and be ready for those tailgate parties and road trips. Better get there fast. #1 Cochran Chevrolet's amazing buy and lease specials won't be around long. Get the best offers of the season on all the big-name Chevy players, including Silverado, Traverse, Malibu, only at the new #1 Cochran Chevrolet Cranberry, formerly Kenny Ross, or visit CochranChevrolet.com. Back in a couple minutes.
The #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by #1 Cochran, Go One Better, and by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.